Happy Tuesday. Week 12 officially begins now. I can't believe we're 12 weeks in, but it's happened. And you are now with the Fantasy Football Buzz podcast. With me, as always, we have 2020. Cyclops, how you guys doing tonight on a wonderful Tuesday?
I'm
doing
psyched.
Good.
We're gonna do some football drafting. I love football drafts.
You know, in my main league, I have fought my way back into playoff contention. I still probably need to win out, so the last 2 games before the playoffs, but at least I'm here. At least I have something to look forward to this week coming up.
Yeah, that's good. I think you were just I think you or Keith were just talking about how there's a logjam in one of our leagues as far as who's going to get into the playoffs, and it's probably like that in a lot of different leagues where these next few games are critical. We've got week 12, week 13, and then most playoffs start either 14 or 15. So it's getting to that point.
Yeah, it's been interesting this year, and I'm sure it happens every year in a lot of different leagues where, you know, obviously there's a slew of teams fighting for the last playoff spots. But this year with the injuries and how teams have gone, you know, you have teams that looked amazing on paper and doing well, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later they score the lowest in the league because those players have gotten hurt or are on the COVID list or one thing after another this year. So there's a lot of equality in leagues that I'm seeing this year.
Yeah,
this is our parity.
Parity, exactly. I was just going to say that this is right around the time where the paper tigers start to, you see the chinks in the armor, and people that were struggling but maybe played the waiver wires, maybe listened to some good podcasts. Have done a good job and fought their way in. You know what's really interesting? How often the highest scoring team or the team with the best record does not win the Super Bowl or the fantasy league championship.
Thanks, Keith.
just saying, it doesn't happen as often as you would think. So
I agree. I agree. So listen, this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about waivers first. We're going to go through different positions, find out, give you recommendations on who you should start, who you should drop. Like you mentioned, we've got injuries, we've got bye weeks, we've got COVID. So this is now critical, man. There's some people out there that might be good on rosters. So we're going to go over that, and then we're going to do a woulda, shoulda, coulda. We're going to do a redraft, just a first round. We're going to take a look at a typical first round draft, what it was back in September or August, and then compare it to what it would be if we redrafted now. So, you know what, guys, instead of talking more and boring people, let's jump right in with the waivers. And let's talk about quarterbacks. Who's out there? Maybe Taysom Hill. I mean, who's out there as far as quarterbacks go?
Well, now Taysom Hill, yes, as quarterback. Before we get into that, really important, because I'm sure, if people listened the other day, they want to know who won the bets from the other day, right? So one, I believe, was Kalen Ballage and Giovanni Bernard.
Right.
And I think that one we, Commish, both you and I had $1 riding on it against 2020.
Right. So here's the $1 there. You got that now.
Sorry, I got kicked out for some reason.
Oh, I've got 2 of them.
Oh, no, please, no.
One's enough. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
You switch positions, little musical chairs. Okay, so
2020, you were huge on Ballage this week.
I was.
How did he do?
He did better than Alvin Kamara. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
That's true. Listen, the numbers, the matchup, everything stated as is. It should have been what it was, but it wasn't. I'm going to sound like the Dennis Green. We know who he was, but for some reason, it just didn't show up that way. But I still stand by that selection. But, something didn't pan out. But if I'm correct, it was against Gio. Edwards-Helaire. Was there a third one?
Yes.
No, I think that was it.
No. Those were the 2, and then the third that we had was whether or not Taysom Hill would get more than Travis
Kelsey.
Right.
Exactly. So you clearly won an Edwards.
We split the Bernard trade because Bernard did worse, but CEH did better. So
exactly.
We'll just have to save the $1 for another bet. As far as the Kelsey bet, since we're only 3 points off, I'm going to go ahead and keep the $1, and we'll double or nothing it for another one.
All right, we'll figure another one out.
I appreciate your executive order. That's fine.
All right. So why don't
All right.
we get started with quarterback? Who's out there? And then what we'll do, Brad, as soon as we're done with quarterbacks, we'll get Kenneth on the line. He wants to talk about waivers as well.
All right, sounds good. So quarterbacks, there's I picked out just 3. We're going to start with Rivers. Okay, he is only 24% rostered, which seems kind of incredible, but he's kind of middle of the pack and he's going to have some good games. But over his last 5 games, he's got 1 dud in there, which I think he had about 10 points. Other than that, he's averaging around 25 points a game.
Yep.
So if you have a quarterback issue, whether it was Burrow going down or whatever the case may be, and you need to pick up a quarterback, there's nothing wrong with that. He plays Tennessee this week.
That's what I rode Rivers last week, where I lost Drew Brees into a win. So that's it's very, very good streamer right now. Yep.
He plays Tennessee this week. They average giving up almost 280 yards a game in the air against other opposing quarterbacks. So that's a nice streamer if you need it. Andy Dalton. I know we can't believe we're saying this, but speaking of Dallas, as I was going through and doing some research today, and I kind of knew it, but if you look at that division, 3-6-1 is leading that division. We're 10 games into the season. 3-6-1 from Philadelphia. 3-7 are the other 3 teams in that division. I mean, that is astonishing that's happening in the NFL these days. But Andy Dalton, he's only about 20% rostered. Of course, after Dak Prescott went out, everyone dropped, the Dallas quarterback or Prescott or whatever it may be. He had 20 points last week. He gets a Washington team this week on Thanksgiving. He's got good receivers there. As a streamer or someone, I'd probably look to Rivers first to see if he was out there, but then Dalton's another person in there that you can kind of plug and play for the week. My third one, and he is 70% rostered, which still means he's obviously out there in a third of the leagues, is Jared Goff. He's had over 300 yards in 3 straight games. He obviously is slinging the ball around. He had, I think it was 51 attempts last night. Fortunately, 12 of those completions went to Robert Woods for me, so it helped me this week. Which was nice. But if Goff is out there, I think you got to look at him. It seems like they're running.
And he's getting the touchdowns, Cyclops.
Well, he got 3 this game.
Yeah.
He did have a week with 0. Then he had a week with 1. But when you go over those 300 yards, at least you're still getting points in most league formats. So those are my 3 quarterbacks to look for in your leagues. If you need somebody, there you go.
All right, sounds good. Kenneth, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I also like to talk in Tua. He's playing the Jets. They're 29th ranked. He's rostered in over 50% of leagues, and he started at about 20%. So I would like to toss him in.
Yeah, Tua, it should be interesting to see. I have a feeling he's going to come back with a vengeance, and I think that both the offensive coordinator for the Dolphins, I think the line is going to do better for him this week. What kind of fantasy relevance he'll have, we'll find out. But yeah, I agree. If you're in a pinch, like I know one of the guys that called in last week, he was in a 50-man league and he really had no choice.
Who were his quarterbacks? Who were they? I forget exactly who they were.
I don't remember, but it was. I think it was
Alex Smith wasn't even available.
Johnny Unitas, and I
might have been one of them.
Cleo Lemon,
right? It was one of those. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go to running backs, Keith. What do you got for us?
I think Keith froze up. So while he's frozen, Javi has a question while he's trying to get back in. So let's bring that in. Says D. Johnson. I assume that's Duke Johnson?
Duke Johnson or Deontay Johnson?
No, Duke Johnson.
No, he said, he's got Deontay and Duke. He's got 2 D. Johnsons and Cooper, and he needs 2.
Oh, got you. So Deontay, go. So, yeah, I mean, for me, this is Deontay Johnson and Cooper. Houston plays. They get this week. So
Detroit.
Duke Johnson, numbers wise, might not be a bad play this week.
Hey, Kenneth, I know you're a big Houston Texans fan. What is your take on Duke Johnson?
I would say I'd say you can have a big game out of him.
Out of Duke Johnson? Yeah.
It's been pretty disappointing, I got to tell you.
He gets Detroit this week.
Like, near the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, against running back?
Yes, right now Detroit is ranked 30th out of 32 against the run. They've given up over or close to 1,400 yards on the ground. So, it's a tough offense to predict, especially on the running back side, and especially with somebody like Duke Johnson. But that's really hard. But with Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in Cooper. I like the idea of running backs because you're going to get the carries. So in that case, I would go with Deontay. We know that's for sure. That's your one that's given. And I don't think Duke Johnson is a bad choice. I think Duke will probably get you around, anywhere between 10 to 15 points. And I can't say that Cooper is going to do the same. So I like the idea of Duke Johnson.
Yeah, Javi, it looks like you have a big day on Thursday. These are all Thursday players.
Right. That's right. Because of Thanksgiving, we have 3 games on Thursday.
Right.
Thank God. It's going to be a
Tell me.
It depends on the test.
That's right. Yeah, we have a lot of COVID stuff going on.
We do.
Because if those tests keep rising, that game between the Steelers and Ravens could end up being canceled.
That's true.
Make sure.
Yeah, so stay tuned on that.
I'm going to go with Salvan Ahmed.
Yeah, Ahmed again. That's not a bad pick, but I'm not sure if Gaskin's going to be taken off IR. What the story is yet on that? Whether or not he's going to be activated for the game. If he is, then it'll probably be a timeshare. But yeah, I think that might be a good one. Why don't we get Keith to talk to us about which running backs you have as far as waiver pickups?
All right, so let's start off with the most obvious, probably going to be the hottest waiver wire pickup for the week, and that is going to be Gus Edwards, which but is only relevant because you have J.K. Dobbins and Ingram both testing positive for COVID. They're ruled out, so it's going to be the Gus Edwards show. Is it a tough matchup? Yes, it is a tough matchup. He's going up against Pittsburgh, but even against Pittsburgh, he did fairly well. It was week 8, I believe. He went against Pittsburgh. He had 16 rushes for 87 yards. He's one of the first guys to come close to cracking 100 against that pretty elite run defense of the Steelers. But he went 16 for 87, including a touchdown. And the next week he got a touchdown against another very good defense in the Indy. So he's going up against Pittsburgh, but here's the deal. It's going to be all Gus all day. No J.K. Dobbins, no Mark Ingram. So if he's available, which he should be, because his roster percentage is ridiculously low. He's only 7% rostered in ESPN and only 29% rostered in Yahoo. So Gus becomes the #1 running back waiver pickup by far.
After tonight, what do you think it goes from 7% to what?
I would say
75, 80, 90?
Really high, yeah.
Well, keep in mind that, you're going to have some people who realize this is probably a 1-week thing.
Yeah.
And unless they are in trouble, right, they're not necessarily going to pick them up. I do expect a lot of bidding money that people have in their free agent bids to be pretty high because it's getting toward the end of the season. People are going to want to spend the money that they've been holding on to. But I don't expect a lot of people to do it just because at this point he's a 1-week fill. and most people already have their roster set.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing that will also lend to that is there is no bye this week. So a lot of people that would have had people on bye will have a lot more running backs at their that are expendable to them.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of teams that are in the position of needing a win to get into the playoffs, or keeping that player away from another team, possibly even that they're fighting for a playoff spot for. Things like that. You'll see people picking them up. I know we have one person in our league that does that a lot, and he looks for that and he spends time, and that's Sponder. So he does that. So there are people in leagues that just look to block people from getting a player as well.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Who would do such a thing?
I don't do that.
Quarterback and tight end.
No, I agree. I think it's not
it's
what
immoral.
fantasy football's about.
Okay, so what other running backs do we have?
So here's one. It's not. Look, at this point, the Ahmeds, the Kalen Ballages, they're gone. Not great choices, but they've been scooped up the last couple of weeks. But a friend of an old good friend of Tom Brady, James White, is now back, and he's going to assume a much bigger role, certainly the passing down role that he's always excelled in, because Rex Burkhead is now out for the season. And in White's last game that he played, he had 9 targets for 6 grabs and 64 yards. So if you are a PPR or even a half-point PPR, and you're struggling because you have injuries that you're contending with and you need someone, there's probably not much out there. James White is someone you might look at, especially with those points per receptions, with Burkhead out and him assuming those pass catching downs. And then lastly, I'm going to throw up in my mouth saying this, but I'm going to go with Frank Gore because
they're going to say Kalen Ballage.
Oh, he's scooped up on my advice.
Okay, that's right. All right.
But Perrine's going to be
dropping him after this week.
Right. That's right, because Eckler's back. But Frank Gore, look, does he put up great numbers? It's pretty pedestrian. But you know what? Last week against the Chargers, he went 15 for 61 with a touchdown. And everyone's thinking the Jets, oh, my God, do you really want a running back? The answer there is no. But, again, these are waiver wire pickups. But everyone thinks, you know what? They're getting blown out. They're not running. What's interesting, they're hapless and they're losing, but the games are close. They lost last week to a high-powered offense in the Chargers by 6 points. The week before that, they lost to New England by only 3 points. 2 weeks
Miami.
before that,
sorry, go ahead.
No, and who knows? Miami just got gashed on the ground.
Miami is actually 27th against the run in the league.
And that's what I was just going to say. They're terrible against the run. So if I'm Adam Gase, I'm looking at I'm going to win this in the trenches and do a lot of Frank Gore. It's going to be all Frank all day because he won't be sharing any touches with Lomeko Pirine. So those are my 3 waiver wire pickups. If they're available, I'd say grab them. And by the way, Frank Gore is widely available. He's only rostered in on average 9 or 10% of the leagues between Yahoo and ESPN. And those are our running backs for the week.
We have one comment in here. Ryan said, "What about Sony Michel?" And
the problem
it's not. He might not play it. It's not sure that he's going to play it.
Right. They activated him last week, but he wasn't active.
Right, and I know that they're probably now with Burkhead's injury going to be rushing him through. But at the same time, Damian Harris is for the most part taken on the lead role in that offense. I know he only ran it 11 times last week, but I think that was more of a product of the game itself. But, as far as a waiver pickup, maybe, it's somebody to look at for the playoffs if you have somebody expendable that you can drop. Not somebody you want to start this week, though, but, it might be a good stash if you have extra room on your roster.
Yeah, another running back that likely did not get dropped from rosters, but potentially may be out there, and he just got designated for activation is a Mostert. So he's coming back.
If he's available.
Well, it depends on the league. Not every league has IR spots, and not every league has deep benches. So if you weren't able to, he might be out there in some leagues. But you want to keep an eye that he got designated today to be activated.
Yep, and it looks like Eckler is going to start practicing again. But again, these are guys you would think would be on rosters. Good point, though. If you don't have the IR spot, because they've been out since Eckler's been out since week 4.
Okay.
But it looks like he has a chance playing today.
Let's pick up the energy a little bit here, guys.
Let's do it.
We got to wake up. And I know it's
Need some coffee.
9:20 on a Tuesday night, but all right, let's talk wide receivers. I'll just go through this real quick. Damiere Byrd, and if I'm pronouncing his first name right, I think I am, with New England. Boy, did he have a game the other night.
Yeah.
6 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. He had 7 targets, and he caught 6 of them. I know Jacoby Myers is the guy. I know Jacoby Myers was blanketed by Bradley Roby, so maybe that's why it became the Bird show the other day. But, if Damiere Byrd is out there, it's somebody to keep an eye on. Now, Michael Pittman, actually, I should have talked about Pittman before I got to Byrd, but Pittman should be taken at this point. If he's not, you should take him. He only had 3 catches, but it was for 66 yards and a touchdown, which is a really nice line. So he's developed this good chemistry with Phillip Rivers, and we know that that's a lot. So I like the idea of Michael Pittman, somebody that we haven't talked about all year. We barely talked about him last year, but that's Kiki Cootie. And I know he only caught 2 of 4 targets for 10 yards and a touchdown. But I think as time goes on, he's going to start getting a lot more work in the slot because you now have injuries to both Randall Cobb and Kenny Stills. So keep an eye on Kiki as well. Now, somebody who
one more time.
For my pick for receiver.
1 second, Kenneth. I got one more here. And this is somebody that you should pick up, and you could even start, and I'll explain why. And it's Nelson Aguilar with Vegas. He had an incredible game the other night. He had 6 catches for 88 yards on 9 targets and a touchdown. And who does he play week 12? The Falcons. When you have somebody playing against the Falcons, you start them. If Nelson Aguilar is available, you need a receiver to start. You got Julio Jones, and you're not sure whether or not he's going to be playing this week because he's day-to-day or game time decision. Have somebody like Aguilar ready to go. Kenneth, who do you have?
I'm going to say Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
He's playing Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're 24th against the pass, and he's rostered in at least 70% of leagues. And he started in a little over 10%. I would say him. Yeah,
that's a good choice too. But let me talk to you guys for a minute about Cincinnati. With the devastating injury to Joe Burrow, what does that do, number one, to that offense? And what does it do to that defense? The defense was looking really bad, and a lot of it was because Cincinnati was scoring, right? And so teams were constantly going back and forth. Are we going to see the same Cincinnati? I think with Ryan Finley, I know the offense isn't going to be as good, but what does this do for A.J. Green? What does this do for Tyler Boyd, for the late Joe Mixon? What does this do for that offense?
I mean, Finley, if I remember correctly, Finley played in several games last year, right, for Cincinnati?
I think so.
And I mean, you have T. Higgins. They're obviously going to be throwing the ball. It's not going to be the same without Burrow.
No.
AJ Green, he has 1 touchdown this year. It was this week, and then Burrow gets hurt. I don't see him as any kind of factor. It's going to be tough. Like you say, I don't know that the defense changes a whole lot. You think it'll get better? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not sure what's.
I just wouldn't put any stock into Cincinnati for anyone at this moment.
I happen to agree with you. If anything, maybe Tyler Boyd, and while Mixon is still out, maybe Gio, because a new quarterback's best friend is always the tight end, and of course dropping off to the running back. But what it does open up, it opens up a great defense streaming option every time someone plays Cincinnati. So it dramatically affects that wide receiving core, and we're going to see how much this week.
All right. So let's do this. Let's go to tight ends real quick.
Okay, we'll do it real quick. I only have a couple. First off is Robert Tonyan. This guy's been on and off rosters probably all year. His first couple games were okay, then he got hot. Everyone picked him up, and then he cooled off. Right now, he's only 40% rostered, so he's had that up and down. The last couple weeks, he's had 4 and 5 targets, respectively. Had a touchdown, so he's a little touchdown dependent. If you need a tight end, if your tight end has a tough matchup or whatever the case may be, he's a guy you could look to get you 6 to 10 points basically at your tight end position. Jordan Akins, for the same reasonings that you were talking about, Kookie.
Right. Kookie. I like it. Call him Kookie.
I think he said Cootie, by the way.
Titty and Cootie.
I was just going to say Titty and Cootie.
Yeah. So he's only 3% rostered. He went 5 for 83 last week. So that was, I think, part of that was because those guys got hurt. Randall Cobb got hurt after the touchdown he caught, and then the other one is hurt. Not Cooks. Who else is hurt?
Oh, Cobb.
Cobb and right. So Kenny Stills, right. So he had 6 targets last week, 5 for 83. So he picked up 5 out of his 6 targets, and he gets Detroit this week, as we've talked about with Duke Johnson, all these players going against Detroit this week. The matchup calls for them to start players on Houston.
Can I want to cut in real quick. I know that Ryan was trying to call us for some reason. It wasn't going through, maybe because we have Kenny on the line.
I'll hang up for right now, but let him call in.
Okay, yeah. Kenny, give us a call when we start. We're going to start the redraft in about 5 minutes, okay? So give us a call back. All right, take care. All right, so Ryan, I apologize. If you try calling back, we'll be able to put you through. You can give us a call on the Buzz, 772-800. Not just Ryan, anybody who wants to give us a call if you have any questions about who to pick up, who to drop. Also, we got games coming up in 2 days. So if you have questions about who to start, what's going on with that, feel free to do that as well.
So I know you're going to get to probably defenses here in a second, but I heard a stat the other day, and I thought it was really funny. You guys will like this. The Cleveland Browns, right? It's like I have COVID brain right now.
Hold on one second, bro.
Oh, is Ryan calling?
Yeah, I think so. Welcome to the Buzz. How are you?
Good. How are you? This is Ryan.
See, I remembered your name from Sunday.
So I've got another question for you.
Sure.
2 questions. For one, my 2 weeks, there's a lot of debate and talk about Taysom Hill. Is he a quarterback? Is he a tight end? So just curious, what are y'all doing in your league? Calling the standard ESPN.
Well, I'll cut to the chase.
I'll
cut to the chase. We follow ESPN's rules, which at the time had him listed as both a quarterback and a tight end. Keith had picked him up actually in our league, and we had discussions all week. It came to a head yesterday. We had a league vote, and we also do team quarterback, by the way. And the team quarterback, Taysom Hill, got 0 for a stupid reason because ESPN said he was not considered a primary quarterback, which made no sense. But we voted in our league, and we gave Taysom Hill the quarterback points and the tight end points. So if you had him as a tight end, then you got the passing yards, the passing points, as well as the catching and the running on top of that. So, it's not necessarily the fairest thing to do, but we're more or less following what ESPN had already laid the groundwork for. But of course, this week, as you may know, he is now taken out of that tight end slot, and he is only listed as a quarterback moving forward.
Yeah. Totally agree on that. We've just been in my league, and I'm sure y'all have had some heated discussions about it as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Curious about what you guys are just following standard rules, or you're switching it up.
Yeah, he was actually. I think Keith, you said you just dropped him, right? So
I did.
He's going to be available in a lot of leagues because nobody really wants him as a quarterback. how many points would he have received if he was just a quarterback, like 15, right, or something around that?
No, 25.
No, because the same. Because
it was
touchdowns
it was
were
that
rushed.
amount of
Because
points.
he
It's
had
actually
2
not a
running
bad.
touchdowns, right?
It actually wasn't a bad week for a quarterback
No,
at
it
all.
wasn't. It was
Yeah,
actually a
that's
good
true.
week for a quarterback. I dropped him because he has no value in our league whatsoever now, for me.
Why?
Because I can't start him we don't start quarterback. His designation is QB. We
Right.
only start team QB.
Oh, well, right. That's
So he has
right.
no
Yeah,
designation.
and you don't have
He's
right, and somebody else has the New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
In our league, he's vaporware. Right. Exactly.
Right. Did you say you had another question?
Yes, I do. So I have my trade deadline tomorrow, and I'm in first place in this league. So only 2 more weeks of the regular season. So I'm really trying to think ahead here, and have a playoff mindset. So I was offered today Chris Carson for Calvin Ridley and Antonio Gibson.
And who?
No, I think
Antonio Gibson.
You're
Way too much.
wait. You have Gibson and Ridley, right?
Correct.
No, you're giving up way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
You're
So
talking.
let me ask you a question: Is this with the last place team?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean, right now, Gibson is, depending upon your league and your scoring, anywhere between 10th or the 13th best running back in football.
Yeah, and Ridley, you don't want to get rid of Ridley right now.
No, not for Chris Carson. I would actually prefer right now to have Gibson over Carson because he's performing so well and so consistently, and Carson keeps getting banged up.
No, the only running back that I would do that deal with would be either Kamara or Cook, and it would have to also get some type of receiver back.
Right.
But short of that, I would not do that deal.
Yeah.
Those are good guys to have for the playoffs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what I was thinking. I just have a very deep team, and I don't know. I guess I'm very strong at wide receiver, but my running backs are mediocre to somewhat good.
Right.
that seems to be a common thread throughout leagues right now. Is it's very hard to have a good running back backfield right now on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
1, 2 is very hard to have. Yeah.
All right, Ryan, I appreciate it. And
Can I ask one more?
of course.
So going forward for, I guess, this week specifically, do you have more trust in Raheem Mostert coming back off the IR or James Conner?
Wow.
Can you repeat that? Because I couldn't
Repeat
hear
that.
it.
I can't hear it. Yeah.
It's Mostert or Connor.
To start.
Or who do we have more confidence in? I mean, Connor is just, I don't know what's going on in Pittsburgh. Just when
he throws touchdowns, he's not getting the running touchdowns. And then Snell sniped a touchdown.
Snell vaulted a touchdown, exactly. And I think the Rams are playing San Francisco. Is that right?
That's correct. San Francisco plays the Rams this week.
That means right. I mean, when Mostert's in, he's the guy, and they're looking for someone to come and be the guy. And he's looking like, if he plays this week, I like Mostert.
I'd probably do that as well, and take the chance with the upside of Mostert compared to kind of what you're going to get with Connor.
Connor.
Is this a trade that he's being offered? Or
No.
It's just who to start.
Who to start? Yeah, I definitely like Mostert.
But of course, keep an eye on keep an eye on the news on that, because he may or may not play. So you don't want to be put into a situation where you have him in your lineup if he's not going to be playing. All right. So we appreciate the call, and we'll be back on Sunday morning. So if you have any other questions, last minute lineup changes or whatever, just let us know. Give us a call, and we appreciate it.
We have one more question, which is with Andy Dalton back under center. Does this put Dalton Schultz back in the tight end one equation? And he actually had a decent week with Dalton back. Dalton does like to throw to the tight end. He even did that in Cincinnati. He loved getting over to Eifert when he was healthy.
Yeah, he had 6 targets. He looks for Schultz in the red zone. So, does it put him back in the tight end one I don't know, because we talked about this earlier, that the tight ends are just terrible this year.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Wait, Kenneth, I answered the phone here, but if you can do me a favor and turn down whatever you're listening to, I'd appreciate it.
I just took care of it.
Oh, okay. If tight end 1 is defined as if you have 10 people in your league, the top 10 tight ends,
then the Jets, right?
Then it's possible. But if you're talking about guys that you're going to be able to rely on week to week, there's only 3 in the league, and that's Kelsey, Waller, and Henry. So yes, I think Schultz is much better with Dalton in there. There's no doubt about that. But it depends who else you have, because there's probably a handful of tight ends who probably do better than Schultz this week.
That was the pick that I chose for tight end, was Dalton Schultz.
Okay. All right. Any other? Let me see here. No. Okay. So let's do this. You guys, we already went through our waiver wire, right? Are we going to?
We didn't do defenses, but just very, very quickly, a couple to look at.
Sure.
Because of matchups. Let me get into that really quick. I know I like Cleveland and the Giants mostly because their matchups just look so good.
Yeah, Cleveland plays Jacksonville.
Is at Jacksonville,
right.
And the Giants are playing a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati. And I also like Green Bay playing against Chicago because the offense is terrible.
Keep in mind, Garrett's not going to play again this week.
Myles Garrett, yeah, he's a big part of why they've got 27 sacks. But Cleveland and Green Bay are doing it. Cleveland and Giants and Green Bay they do a good job of getting out to the quarterback. They blitz a lot.
I picked up Cleveland, and I'll explain why, guys. Not just because they had some good matchups, but the matchups moving forward, especially if you're looking toward the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Week 15, they play against the Giants. Week 16, they play against the Jets. So your Super Bowl matchup, if you pick up the Browns and you make it to the Super Bowl of your league, it would be probably against the Jets.
That's right.
So it's a good idea to pick up the Browns if they're available in your league.
Even without Myles Garrett, they've got a lot of good players on that team, on that defense. It's pretty underrated. If Garrett comes back, they're going to be just that much better.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this, guys. Let's go into our woulda, coulda, shoulda segment. We're going to talk about who was drafted originally in your typical draft, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll do a redraft based on what we already know. It's good to have foresight 2020. What do they call it? So let's go ahead. Let me throw on the screen here. Okay. So this happens to be in the league that we're in, but it's very typical of a draft, a half PPR. And you'll see that this is who was originally drafted. The first pick obviously was McCaffrey, and then Barkley and Zeke. And I think in any order, those 3 were usually the first 3 taken off the board. Then Dalvin Cook. CEH was kind of a surprise that high at 5, but we understood why he was taken. Then Derrick Henry. Then Michael Thomas. And I know we had the talk about Michael Thomas going in 4 or 5 at the time, if you remember. Then Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams. So if we're going to do a redraft, we're going to go ahead and just do a first round redraft. And Brad, let's start with you. Who would you pick first right now?
Starting the league now.
Yeah.
Or we're starting it, week 1, but what we know now. And I think this would be pretty common, I would imagine, would be Dalvin Cook.
That would be the consensus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's out. He's the number 1 running back right now, and that was with even missing a game. He's averaging nice a week. It's not like he's having really down weeks. He's had a couple not so amazing weeks, but they 13, 15 points like that, but not like any 4-point weeks. So, and he's had his injury, but even with that, he's still leading the league, and value based. That's my number 1 pick.
Okay, so I don't mean to rain on the parade with Dalvin Cook, and I wouldn't fault anybody who picked him first.
I have a feeling I would know who you're going to say.
No, I'm not going to say anything right now because I don't have the number 2 pick. But what I'm going to say about Dalvin Cook, though, is it's something to keep an eye on if you're taking him for the playoffs. Realize that he plays weeks 14, 15, and 16. He plays Tampa Bay, which is second in the league against the run. Then he plays Chicago, which is only 14th. But then he plays New Orleans, which would be your Super Bowl matchup, and they're number 1 against the run. So I'm not saying don't pick Dalvin because of that, but it is something, to keep that you would want to see if you're hoping to have him for the playoffs. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, Keith, who are you looking at?
Two would have to be Alvin Kamara. He's got some nice matchups for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl week 16 would be Philadelphia, but the week before that is Atlanta, and this upcoming week is Denver. And he's just the guy. So I would definitely, for me, unquestionably go with AK at number 2.
Yeah, I actually had him as number 1. Mm-hmm. I would have picked Kamara first, mainly because of the schedule, like you said. Philly, Kansas City, Minnesota are your 3 playoff games. Yeah, I expect him to really do well. Kenneth, you're going to join us. I think you're going to give us who would you pick third, given that Dalvin Cook and Alvin.
I think I had him at 4. I had him at 4.
I'm sorry. So I guess do I get 3? I guess I get 3. I apologize.
Yep.
Well, if I'm picking 3, then I'm going to go with who I currently have on my roster, and I'm gonna have to go with Henry. If we thought that Kamara had an easy schedule for the playoffs, Henry's got Jacksonville, who's 24th in the league, Detroit, who's 30th in the league, and then Green Bay, who's right around the middle. So Cook, Kamara, Henry, I think those are fair. The first 3 looks a lot different, guys, than McCaffrey, Barkley, and Elliott, right? It's crazy.
Very much so.
This might even be what we're going to look at for what we're going to see next year, right?
Yeah, very possibly.
Okay,
I certainly think you'll see CMC up there in the top 3 again.
I'm going to go with the guy that I currently have on my roster, and I'm going to go with the current MVP and Patrick Mahomes. My reason is these next 3 games that he has is at Tampa Bay, Denver at home, and then at Miami. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, you're not worried about picking a quarterback so early in a draft when you think?
No, because he's been one of the main reasons why I've been doing so well.
That's fair. I understand. Okay, that's a good pick. Okay, so we're going to go to number 5, and Keith, I believe you have number 5.
I do, and this is a tough one because I'm teetering between Nick Chubb and Devontae. Devontae has just been an absolute beast. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to stick to my original thought here, and I'm going to go with Devontae Adams. I happen to like his schedule. He's far and away the best receiver in football, and he's got a pretty tasty, other than week 12 against Chicago, weeks 13, it's Philly, 14 is Detroit, 15 Carolina, Tennessee at 16. I love it. So here I'm grabbing the number 1 receiver off the board at 5.
Excuse me.
Anytime that you can grab a wide receiver who averages 22 points a game,
I mean,
you can't go wrong.
And what's so funny is this is exactly where Thomas was going in so many drafts.
That's right.
And that's actually we had him here at number
5. No, I'm sorry, we had a number 7, but yeah,
number 7 exactly,
right,
which is very unusual. But he was at 4, 5, and 6. So I love Devontae here at 5.
I agree. That's I would have picked him probably 4th. So I'm with you. I love that pick. All right,
but I love Chubb.
Yes, but we do have a timeshare issue with him. But okay, so who has the 6th pick? Is it me here?
That's you.
Okay, sorry guys. All right, so 6. Like I said, I'm not a fan of picking wide receivers in the first round. But in this case, with the year that he's having, and since we're doing a redraft and continuing for this year, I have to go with Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
The reason that I like Tyreek Hill here, right now he's number 2 in the league in fantasy football points for wide receivers. He's averaging 18 points per game. And the best part is he plays Atlanta week 16. So can you imagine having the benefit of Tyreek Hill as your receiver for the Super Bowl? So I like the idea of Tyreek Hill here at number 6. And now we'll move on to number 7.
And I believe that is me. And I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
I already took Henry. He's off the board. I took him 3rd.
In that case, what about I'll take Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Okay.
the KC running back.
Oh, so you're gonna have a KC team. Oh no, but it's not actually not the same team. We're
It's
just
not the same team, but
spots right here. Yeah, people were worried about Le'Veon Bell coming in, right? And CEH hitting the bench. And we haven't seen that. If anything, it's almost like CEH is getting more carries than he was before Bell came in. How do you guys feel about that CEH at 7?
I don't like it. I could think of a lot of other players I'd rather take here at the 7 position for a redraft. Now, anytime you have a Kansas City player on your team, yeah, you're thinking, it's money. I just think there's a lot of other players that are averaging a lot more points a week to go with rather than CEH here.
All right. Well, who's got the number 8 pick here?
That would be me.
All right. So what do we get for number 8?
At number 8, I've got to go Chubb. In the last 2 consecutive weeks, he's had 19 and 20 carries, over 100 yards, a touchdown. Missed a touchdown on his little move to conserve a game.
Yeah.
But listen to the schedule coming up. Other than a blip, week 14 against Baltimore, he's got Jacksonville, Tennessee, Baltimore, and for the playoffs, week 15 and 16, the Giants and the Jets. He gets to go and roll through New York, both on the road. So I love Chubb, and I'd be ecstatic for him to follow me at number 8.
Okay, that sounds good. We didn't have, in fact, we saw Chubb fall usually to the end of the second round in a lot of leagues this past year. So far, there's a few people, we'll go through a summary when we're done, but there's a few people that weren't in the first round last year or that were in but are not in now. Okay, so we're gonna go with number 9. Is that me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to take a chance at this point with number 9, and I'm going to go McCaffrey because if he's healthy, and I know that's a big if, but we're also talking about the 9th pick in the draft. If he's healthy, he's a running back 1.
100%.
If he plays, he's better than Kamara. He's better than Cook. He's better than Henry. It's just a matter of when does he play. So at the 9th position, I'm willing to take a chance because if it's a 10-person league, I know in 3 picks I'm going to come around and get another pick, and I can always grab an Aaron Jones, or I could grab somebody else at that point, possibly in the event I need another running back.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to go with number 10 and finish the first round.
So I'm kind of a toss-up. Both of these guys are here, and it's kind of, if you're in a 10-man league, obviously you have 10 and 11, so you could do 1 and 1.
Right.
Normally I'm going to take a running back here in a redraft, but I'll tell you both players. Kyler Murray is averaging 40 points a game. Now, I know quarterbacks, a good quarterback week, in a standard points league, 25, 30 points. He's averaging almost 40. He's averaging 40 points a game.
No.
And it depends on the league scoring. You're right. In our league, it's less. I was looking at in another league I'm in, and it's 40. But I would assume, I didn't even look it up in our league. Is he leading?
In the 2 leagues I'm in, it's 30.
It's 30. Okay, so then probably
20
not
is
that
a good.
not that that's bad.
Right.
No, but when you have a guy that's getting it every single week, it's just nice to get those 30, 35 points a week from your quarterback, and you know you're going to get it. My other option is Travis Kelce here. To get a tight end that is so bad this year, to get a tight end that's going to get you 18 points a week or 20 points a week, and you know it almost every single week, how can you pass that up? You know, you take that chance and take that tight end.
So which one are you going with?
Out of those two, just because
it doesn't matter because he's going to have the 11th.
or 11.
Well,
right. Yeah.
So, but what I want to do, guys, is I kind of want to talk about who was drafted in the first round at the beginning of the season. And we know that McCaffrey and Barkley have suffered the injuries. We know that the offensive line in Dallas has been decimated, and Dak's injury changed up that offense. So Zeke fell out. Michael Thomas, also an injury issue. Joe Mixon, an injury issue. So really, most of these people and I know Zeke really isn't a personal injury issue, but these were all injury-based issues, right? We didn't necessarily have performance issues. And I think had all those people been healthy, I don't think that it's wrong to have kept that same, we might have seen a very similar list moving forward. Some of the people that weren't drafted in our redraft right now to talk about: Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen,
Jacobs.
Keenan Allen leading the lead in receiving in receptions and targets. DK Metcalf just going off. He's quietly third right now in fantasy football points. Hopkins, by the way, who is hot and cold and hot and cold.
Right.
I found this interesting about Hopkins, guys. Listen to this. Week 4, 7.6. Week 5, 22.
Right.
Week 6, 8. Week 7, 20. Week 9, 4. Week 10, 22. Week 11, 7. And it just,
week
we don't
12,
know
22.
Giants this week. So now we're back to 20.
Right.
So Hopkins, it's understandable why he doesn't get redrafted in the first round. But some of those other names, I don't think I would have faulted any of you guys had you.
I'll tell you, there's one that's puzzling. I probably wouldn't have done Hilaire, but Josh Jacobs is currently the number 5 running back in football, and he's got a very, very tasty matchup.
Well, Jacobs is also the kind of guy
lately.
Yeah, right. And he was also the kind of guy, he was like that last year, yet people still didn't think about him in the first round.
Right.
So it's the same type of disrespect, I would say.
Right.
Hey, Kenneth, before we let you go, any final thoughts?
If I had another pick, I would have taken Aaron Jones.
Yep.
That would have been my next pick.
All right. Hey, Kenneth, it means a lot. We appreciate the fact that you joined us. I have a question for you, though, because I know you're a big Houston Texans guy. And the Dolphins have the benefit of having Houston's first-round draft pick this year. How many more games do you think Houston's going to win?
I think they get at least. They're 3-7 now. I say they could get another maybe 4 to 5, maybe.
Wow.
I mean, if they get 5 games, that means they go undefeated for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And that could happen.
Don't say that, man. I need that pick to be as low as possible.
Wait, so we're not asking what you want to happen.
Oh,
we're asking what will or possibly might happen. Remember that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
Anyways, I appreciate y'all taking my call.
Of course.
I'll talk to y'all. And y'all doing a show Sunday, right?
Yeah, we'll do Sunday morning at 11.
Would it be right for me to call in, or
if you have any questions, you're always welcome to call in.
All right, I'll talk to y'all Sunday.
All right, take care, Kenneth.
All right, Kenneth. Thanks for calling.
All right. So speaking of Sunday, I know we have 3 games on Thursday, right? So
hopefully
through our Facebook page and our YouTube page, if anybody has questions, they want to know who to start, who to bench for Thursday's games. If you ask the question, we will respond via those social media outlets. And then on Sunday, we can talk about the as well. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we move on?
So I wanted to give out this stat that I was in the middle of earlier. So Baker Mayfield just broke this person's record for wins in the Brown Stadium. You have any idea who that is?
Oh, yes, I know the answer to this.
Bernie?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, that's funny.
It's sad.
I thought that's the funniest stat. Like one
That
of the best stats I've ever heard.
I think what's interesting happening this year, Kyler Murray has a chance of being the first quarterback to go for 4,000 passing and 1,000 rushing. I actually think it was a good pick in our redraft. That's like getting a quarterback.
Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray could be the first quarterback to go for 4,000 passing and 1,000 rushing.
Yeah.
I actually think he's going to do it. So interesting times.
Well, I know I want to talk real quick about Tua and everybody freaking out about Tua's performance. If I were to tell you some stats from a rookie quarterback, and I told you that, for the bulk of the season, they were getting 225 yards, 157 yards, 141 yards, 217 yards, 195 yards. You would be feeling the same way probably, and that guy was Dan Marino. So before people start freaking out, I know that they're doing it because they're trying to compare it to Herbert or Burrow, but it's a different system, different receivers, different offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Tua is the next Marino, and I'm not saying he's going to be better than Herbert or he's going to be better than Burrow. I just think that right now it's a little too early for people to be criticizing.
I think there's different expectations for rookie quarterbacks that come in these days than there was in the 80s or the night. It was just completely different expectations. Mm-hmm. And then do get Burrow and what's his name doing so well in San Diego that people compare them. It's just going to happen. Yep. So it was tough to watch. It was very tough to watch.
It was hard.
It was tough, but give me Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, or even Tyler Boyd or AJ Green, and I'm all over that. I'm not saying Tua's perfect. He admitted he held on to the ball that too long, but the play calling was not as good as it had been the past few weeks, and our receivers aren't getting separation. When you saw film from behind for the overview, and you saw the receivers just had zero separation, and Tua's not going to throw an interception.
And the offensive line was playing horrific. They were getting beat all day long. And not to mention what Herbert is doing in Los Angeles right now is historic. I mean, this is historic for a rookie. We have not seen something like this at this level.
Well,
that consistent.
Let's remember if it's, I think Rick Meyer won Rookie of the Year. What year was that? Was that 80, 84, 85? I don't remember the year, but he had 1 year, and then they realized he doesn't know how to read a playbook or a defense. So, I think we just need to calm down, curb our expectations at this point, and just let it play out and see what happens.
Exactly.
So,
all right.
So I'm wondering if I'm right about this, and we'll see. Who was the last left-handed quarterback to take a team to the playoffs?
That the answer to that?
I think I do. I will say it, and then I haven't looked it up. I would imagine it's Tebow. Right?
That is funny.
Very possible, yeah.
So anyway, I was thinking about that, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and we will see everybody Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Again, if you have questions, Facebook Live or YouTube Live, go ahead and put it in there, and we will get back to you during the week. Otherwise, we will talk to you all Sunday morning. Right. Stay safe, wear your masks, have a really happy Thanksgiving. We didn't talk about this. Are you guys doing turkey, the whole traditional thing? Are you having family over? What are you doing?
We are not having anybody over. We're going to do just the family.
Right.
And yes, I'm sure we will have turkey and stuffing and cranberry and
will you be doing any of the
potatoes? Any of the what? Cookie? Yeah.
All right, good.
We're doing
Going to school for 12:30.
We're doing a traditional Thanksgiving, but in the non-traditional way, the pandemic way, where instead of doing it at a house, we're going to a park and doing it at a pavilion. So we're trying to stay safe. So if you're watching, stay safe out there. This thing is far from over, but we're going to get our gobble on.
What about you?
Yeah, what are you doing?
We don't do turkey. I'm in a vegetarian, gluten-free household, and not that it has to be vegetarian, but I think I got to an age where I realized I don't like turkey, so why have it? And so I cook a brisket, and I make a macaroni
That's vegetarian
casserole.
This is vegetarian.
I said it's not because turkey is not vegetarian. That's not why we have it, but because I realized we don't like turkey. No, but we do have a brisket and mac and cheese, and then Lucy makes a chestnut loaf, a vegetarian dish that she got from her mom when she was growing up. That's what they ate for Thanksgiving because they were vegetarian, and candied yams and Yorkshire pudding and all that stuff. So it'll be a nice time, food and football and family.
Enjoy.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
All right, take care. We'll see you all on Sunday.